Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to go over all the things that are on my Kindle Unlimited TBR. So, I don't quite remember the last things that I talked to you about having on my TBR, so I'm just going to start fresh and we're going to go over what I currently have. So, the first thing that I have on my Kindle Unlimited TBR is Still Beating. This is a captive romance between a woman and her sister's fiance. They end up getting kidnapped by this guy who likes kidnapping people who aren't together or strangers and making them fall in love and then killing them. But I have heard the majority of this is post-kidnapping when they've gotten out and they are now having to live life with the trauma that they've endured. We then have Sweet Dandelion, which is a student-teacher romance, and I think this is very reminiscent of Dark Notes by Pam Godwin, which is one of my favorite romances of the year, so I'm excited about that. So then we have Bad Boys Break Hearts, and this is an enemies to lovers sports romance. The hero is a pitcher for the baseball team, and the heroine, I'm assuming, has just returned to the school, and they have an antagonistic relationship. I have heard good things about, I think this is Macaulay Smaltzer, the same author that wrote Sweet Dandelion. I've heard she's great at angst, so there we go. We then have Sabotage. So this is a step brother-sister romance, and it sounds very toxic. It's along the lines of like, I hate everything about her except when she's on her knees begging, which... Okay, we have The Highwayman by Kerrigan. Honestly, I was just so surprised that this was on KU that I got it, and I didn't want it to get off KU before I could read it, but I have heard this is the best from her. I have had mixed results. I've had a 2-star from Kerrigan. I've had a 5-star from Kerrigan, and I'm hoping that this one is the 5-star. We then have Praise, which really needs no explanation. It is a ex-boyfriend's dad with praise kink. It's very popular right now. We have The Sword of Kerrigan, which is a fantasy. You probably don't care about that, but I'm excited to read it. We have 5 rounds. I think it's 5 rounds. Yes, we have 5 rounds, which is an enemies to lovers boxing or MMA romance. Sin and Discipline, which is another student-teacher, piano teacher romance. That just sounds like it's gonna warm my heart and maybe something else. We have Darling Venom, which is 600, maybe 700 pages. It is ridiculously long, and I've heard it's very angsty. I think it's about a woman who becomes best friends with this guy who ends up committing suicide, and she has a relationship with his brother or his best friend, but I've heard it's incredibly angsty and it's very long. So they might have an antagonistic relationship. I then have Don't Hex and Drive, which again, I was kind of shocked that this was on KU because I don't think it was previously. I think it was first ever on KU, but this is the second book in this series. I think it's Stay a Spell, and the first book I gave 5 stars was an absolute delight. It was shocking to me. I don't know what this one is about. I think it might be a vampire. I think it's enemies to lovers. Her writing is just so consumable and so funny, which is not something that I usually will say. We then have City of Gods and Monsters, which I think is a fantasy romance. We have Lauren, who is a human. Her friend gets kidnapped by supernatural bounty hunters, but she was supposed to be the one that was kidnapped. They want a ransom. She accepts help from Darian, the leader of the 7 devils, the most feared dark slang circle in the city. I'm feeling my fantasy romance era upon me, so I definitely I'm stocking them up, as you'll see. We then have The Half-Orc's Maiden Bride by Ruby Dixon. I've heard this has an alpha mellow hero, and I'm all for that. I have read one other thing by Ruby Dixon. I've read the first book in the Planet Barbarian series. I gave it a 3, I think, or a 2 at the time. We have Moon Touched. Says she is a half-human outcast. I'm assuming she's a werewolf, and the fated mate is the only chance to change packs after she's been kicked out. He is the future alpha to the Leo pack, the enemies to her old pack, and she rejects him. So, fated, alpha, rejected mates, alpha, rejected mates, whatever. We then have Demon King. Says, when my best friend goes missing in Las Vegas, there's only one man I can turn to for help. Lucifer, billionaire playboy. and he agrees to help in exchange for one thing, and he wants her to make a deal for his help. And then we have another fantasy romance. It is The Song of the Marked. I've heard great things about this. The fan art is amazing, and it says, "This series is for you if you enjoy enemies to lovers that gets progressively spicier, strong but flawed heroines, banter, found family, epic monster battles, a unique magic system, gods meddling amongst mortals, and complex world building." So that is, I'm excited to get to that one. We then have A Deal with the Devil, which is a steamy enemies to lovers romance. Elizabeth O'Rourke has been just going around recently. It's about Hayes, who is best known for his Scotch habit and the way he spends his British charm all over Hollywood. So then we have Consider Me. This is about Carter Beckett. He is the NHL's resident bad boy, and then I think she goes to him for like a one-night stand or something, and he becomes obsessed with her. I've heard he's like an absolutely delightful hero. Next we have Flock, which again I don't think needs any introduction. This went, it made its rounds, but I've heard that this is like a better Credence. So I loved Credence. Unpopular opinion, it seems like, recently, but we'll see how I feel. Is it gonna be better than Credence? I really hope so, because the ending of Credence, if you know, you know. And then the last thing on my Kindle TBR is Marriage for One. I've tried this before. It's extremely popular. I think it's like a fake marriage. She's trying to get an inheritance for a coffee shop or a bakery or something. He has his own reasons. He comes up to her, offers to fake marry her so that she can fulfill the terms of the will that's going to get her this inheritance. They fake marry each other, and I think it's like he's like the ultimate grump, but I'm excited to read it, and I've tried it once before. I gave up on it, but I want to try it again. So those are all of the things on my Kindle TBR. Let me know down below your thoughts on anything that I have on my list. If you have anything that I should add, let me know. If you don't have anything to say, leave a flower emoji down in the comments. I will catch you guys in my next one, and thanks so much for watching.